Alright, so, the crazy atheist public domain books. Right? God, maybe not. So, public domain books, you can rewrite it, you can edit it out however you want. So, I'm thinking here. Let's do Dracula, right? Dracula's public domains, we take that. So let's summarize that. So I run it through a summarizing thing, random website, I don't remember which, summarize the whole thing. However, it's pretty much just the same old book. So what I did, I went through bad translator. Oh, this took way too long to actually make. But this is the results. It's somewhat coherent, so let's begin. The first 5 chapters of Dracula. I'll make some notes here, because you can replace my memory when you speak from the mind. The population of Transylvania has 4 different countries, Saxon in the south, and mixed within its walls, which are descendants in the west, the east, and the north. 8.5 hours. The morning must be early. 18 hours. 46 hours. But the train has been late for an hour. I'm afraid to go away from the station when we arrive late and start at the right time. I'm very impressed that we leave the west and go to the east. The Western Bridge most dance, where this is a great and deep trip, which gives us in the healing tradition, and we have been healthy, and we have come to Hamburg at night. Budapest seems a wonderful place, from the glimpse which I got from it from the train and the little I could walk through the streets. Get recipe for Mina. I asked the waiter, and he said it was called paprika hedi, and that, as it was a national dish, I should be able to get in anywhere along the Carpathians. I find my smattering of German very useful here. Indeed, I don't know how I shouldn't be able to get on without it. Having had some time at my disposal when in London, I have visited the British Museum and made search among the books and maps in the library regarding Transylvania. I was told that a certain pre-knowledge of the country would not matter when dealing with the noblemen of this country. I find that the neighbors that called both in far east of the country and on the borders of the 3 states, Transylvania, Moldova, and Bukovina, in the middle of the Carpathian Mountains, one of the wildest and least known regions of Europe, because there is no map of the country. It could not be on the map or at work, that is the exact location of the Drake of the Berg. But we cannot compare with our own misleading exam cards. But I am a city called Bistritz, Drake Graf, a well-known place. I was having dinner, with red pepper, but very good, but thirsty. This is a facial event in the lives of the officers who sent Tannen. Mafia in the foreign country. Article. I would like to have a full-time buffet. I waited for the heifer, and I found it at home. Off now, and I felt that it could no longer be obeyed. I felt suspicious, and I was afraid of myself, but my flesh answered the skeleton test. My eyes were not allowed to be deceived. I have to sleep, especially if I had been completely awake. I had to notice the approach of such a remarkable place. What adventures did I start? I couldn't see him in the middle of the day. When a balance stopped, the driver jumped and held his hand to help me. Then I took mine and put it on the ground next to me. Was near a big door. Old and bolted, the large nail irons. And put on a large rock projection door. I started to tear my eyes and watched. If I was awake, I did not notice this miraculous power. I could not see in the dark light that the stone was very carved, but it was time to cut. Time to hear well. Low the cold walls and open doors. Dark openings. It was unlikely that my voice could enter. The glue farm looks great, and looks dark ways with a large round look larger than that. The horse started to move forward, and I stayed silent where I do not know what to do, because everything removed one of the dark openings. No ring sign. It is a scary idea. If so, it will be able to control his wife, as he does. He will have a reason to remain silent? who knew very well that I was in prison, and he himself was doubtful of his own motives, and that Joshua Hackle's magazines continued to occur in a certain brutal feeling that I had found that he had never come to the library. So I went out to my room very carefully, and from sitting there, it does not take advantage of the ideas I know. Biscuits and experts remain in the end country, like the view, only the plane of the Mojid will be information and a relationship with him. The eyes are open. For this reason, he expressed all office. So no one in the gas could be the same number. I think I did not reach the end. I'm sure. It was a product, but he always thought he was not at home. I believe it was surprised by a child, or with the eyes or the other eyes. And if it one is, I should use my entire brain. I was forced to hear the big door. I know that the contact would come back. I am trying to take each door and compare each window into each window. But after a small belief that my help does not believe all of my feelings. When he saw him from the gates of tears, he was shot. I will not be aware of it. 19 beats in the finger. I am happy. The evening of the evening, the map of writes 3 letters, says, my housework was almost finished. And in a few days I started at home. Began the letter. In the 3rd, I rejoiced the cast and came into business. I took the vacuum and destroyed it. I saw it. Home. When I got out, I found him closed. I have the honor to speak in front of her. If this book is moved here and pulled me, it's taken because my hands are handcuffed. However, because this situation does not prove that my thoughts are not normal and, for one reason or another, I am certainly a lot of psychology. However, that is the correct situation that is related to this. When I take full ownership, the driver can enter the car. I am sure this journal will be a mystery to him. I could see the bolts on the lock where there was no shot, but there was a reinforced door inside. I looked at this room. It was full of fear. But now it was part of the sanctuary. Because nothing can be worse than a woman who sucks my blood. Hey, we finally got vampires. On May 18th, I already checked the room. We need to know the truth. The last thing I fly my watts, and out of the bed, the life it is not smelled by the wind, and lots of information. Be the former. Which means being done by a person who is not collected and produced. I tried to deliver the product, but it did not come before exonerable. October. You need to catch the same wave with you. On May 5th, we decided to accept a long delay in the clouds. Lucky, but overwhelming. 10 o'clock p.m. You could see the box. Do you have any questions? The Daily Grove can be written. The market is not in every page. I do not assume that there will be much interest in other people, but it is not intended for them. The life of an assistant teacher is sometimes trying. Bye. You'll love all the news when you wrote. I wonder if we, I mean Jonathan and me, when we'll see them together. I hear rumors, especially of tall, handsome, curly man. When we are married, I will be able to be useful to Jonathan, and if I can spell well enough, I could take down what he seems in a way and write it to him in a typewriter, in which I am also practicing a lot. I write letters in a short time. The train leaf, a legit leaf, as in like from the trees, takes you abroad. I was a few lines of Transylvania. I remember everything in a small wood. Who hears during the day? I try to do what I see. Journalist women do. Interview write. Description, and try to remember the conversation. Chapters 6 through 10. Right to rub the city down by the waiters. Brazilian. Boycott where the girls were placed in a wall. I think it is the smallest of place of Wales because it is right in the city, and is full port, full of bay potential, which dominates the sea. The unsolved bank left the port, destroyed some graves. In one place, the cemetery was much more than the sand road. The river Eek passes through, a deep grete which runs along the Italian. The channel works all over the world, performs, which looks furnished so far. The city is between there another church, a parish which is grave. July 24th. The old side of town is red. It seems the second moves as a painting. Salvation is beautiful green. And is merry. Hoof when the ground rolling on both sides. Look good, unless it is near him. Hoof down. There are stairs along the seat. Through the earring, and everyone sits there. And enjoys the ventilation. The front and sitting here are facing me and working. This is the most noble ruin. Memorized size, full of beautiful romantic pieces. Log in. Looking for more sweet than before. And we go home in a crisis center where they have rooms. There is a legend that the white looks in a window. The weather was a little polluted, but is not to an extent rarely in August. The wind was then struck from the southwest to a gentle degree, which in a barometric language is classified as a daytime evening. And a great holiday organ emerged yesterday to visit the Mulgrave Woods, Robin Hood's Bay, Ridge Mill, Runswick, Statham, and various travels in the Whitby district. The streamers, Emma and Scarborough, sailed up and down the coast, both Whitney and Scarborough. Prelude to Gila, R.I. And Roz in list my August 8th wedding. Stay in port, then the captain of his heart. From the report to the storm of two lights. One of the biggest southern storms of the record is still here. Both odd and unique results. The Concorde was made an account, and the elderly fishing from the half-century. From E to Rock, meteorologists continue to watch the basics. The results of an annual storm announced. From the day and the great and the beautiful painting was the biggest to stay, in the young and beautiful in the official pictures. Before the sun dipped below the black mass of kennels, standing boldly, half wide, the western skies. Its downward was the mark of by myriad of clouds of every sunset color, flame, purple, pink, green, violet, and all the tints of gold, with here and there the masses not large, but the seeming absolute blackness in all sorts of shapes, as well as the outlining colossus silhouettes. Several new writers will start a few days with the idea that men and women can see another before bed, before she gets late, but I think not. A new woman capital of several T, in the destruction of the hood of the old tone, sweet, bending over stones covered in stitches. There's a few consolations. I'm very happy tonight, because Lucy is precious. Humans are more tolerant, bless them, and a nice job she will make of it too. She has more color in her cheeks than usual, and looks, oh so cute. If it weren't for the fact that I had made my diary a duty, I wouldn't open it tonight. I think one day the bishops will have to meet and see if they're breeding up a new class of carrots. Who don't take the dinner, no matter how hard they must push to and fro, and to when know they are tired, sleeps and breathes softly. I know it was hard to fight my part, and I'm pretty heroic. However, the young curate came in, and Mrs. Westernia. Everything that some cows come to nest near the field with lightning and precipitation. In many places we went home, even in the many places, and then to the liver. It's going quickly. So we must go quickly. If you want to fall in love, if you want to see the large room, you'll see. Think, Hoof forgot everything, of course, without personal fear. And it looks like we reflex. We'll give you a fresh start. Luckily, fight for a vampire. Hey, we have it again. After all, because I believe that some cows come to us in the Neil field with lightning, the floods which switch among us. We have walked at their home, even in many places. Come to deliver. Lucas does, brother. We intend to appear quietly from the night. Hostile Minds in the International Convention for Free, 24th of August. But I can know that the other female tree is in the voice changing. He himself is a bad man, and he is not before. He is not what he did. He does not have the reason to join. So, to it, as it was at least a product, and in no time. All the resolution has gone out of his dear eyes, and that quiet dignity which I told you was in his face has vanished. Sister Agatha, who isn't a good creature, and a born nurse, tells me that he wanted her to tell me what they were. But she will only cross herself. She would never fail. I found my love thin, merry. I feel unhappy. I don't remember anything about the trip, except that I was shot at Jonathan, and as I've taken care of, I prefer to sleep. I know. I have a hole. And I took a boat to Hamburg, then a train here. Letters, etc. So you keep knowledge in a place where it can rest, where it can collect. It is kind around him and race. I wrote a letter. I said, you weren't coming. Become Miss West. Isn't that good? And I'd like to know if it is necessary. Lord, my friend, he said, on September 5th. The first van of hell told me when he met on the Basin Street, where you told us about a young girlfriend to love her, but you do not know how good my friend. I'm sure that way we can go and avoid this alarm because of the shock of death, and in a bad state, that Lucy could be a disaster. I see how you told me on my telegram. Author, my dear Art. It says in Polish, but I don't know why. I don't say what in you're doing. All is threatening. All is bipedal knees. But you go to God. All people are crazy in a way, to an extent. Act politely with crazy. So face the crazy men of God. The rest of the world, please. But if necessary, you will know everything. Of course, Mrs. Westernia was worried about Lucy and professionally informed me about her. Maybe he never knows. If I were to write something, then if you do not hear me, accept it. I'm waiting for news. Hurry up, you'll be. I said no. Lucy will be back a bit this morning, but there is something good coming. Chapters 11 to 15. Registration in Lucy, September. I'll be glad that will be glad to be. As well as supporters. Oh, my very page is very thick. Sleep pain or pain in bed. A place I do not suggest in the night. And you can sleep without life. I already bedded. He always travels with children. He came and looks well. It was a good picture. My favorite person, after leaving the city. However, that must be true. They are very favorite, comfortable. The van and I reached the hill in 8 hours. He said that he will emerge with the property. In his eyes there is peace. I looked in his room, and I wasn't wont to do so. He kept his eyes. So he always comes through the eyes. Get him now. We're going down. I wouldn't mind jumping out of the window. She greeted us and said, happily knowing that the joy is the best sunlight, and all the fresh feeling of early disorder seems to complicate the annual work of nature, and the leaves turn into all kinds. But they haven't started yet. I'm here tonight, waiting to sleep, lying in the play. I never liked the garlic. Scheduled transport is scheduled at the hospital. That is a blessing, is people who have your life, not a feast. There is no blessing that is a dream is blessing. That comes at night and brings nothing, just sweet dreams. We went to the back of the house, where there was a kitchen window. God will come. If you do not have a choice, we have to. It was a big house too late. Identifiers concern us. The regular energy of the record has been continued. But now, the scary fear began to interfere with me. Dr. Seward of April 18th. Immediately went to Addingham and arrived early. He stopped and raised his hat like he said, and then I was afraid we were going to be late. I was going to be the first in the city, but I was very happy to have a lot of fun. When I saw me, ugly, this was you, and you arrived. After IDs, I didn't get answers. I was scrolling and scrolling. There was no answer. The secret, but another correction, is in a doom chain, which was thy appearance. Hoof with the firm drawings for us. All the while, again answer us. I could not wait early in the morning. I did not have to moment in the future. I could not hoof anyone heard in the house. Water requirements. Moderate. And I banged the door, and I was closed, and I went back to the trap. I was very happy. I'm calling me to be quieter because I'm going to enter the van in the mom, and I hope just give service to the door. I heard, the horse legs, shoulder persecution. Dr. Diary. Fix the cemetery for the next day. Lucy and mom combined. More folk. Then avoiding. Was not born in the hand, and the bear returned to the cemetery of his father. We cannot tell who he must report. But this is not the law, that he knows when the comrade's away so much that he will not respect our organization. Very happy to be here in this situation. I lost my paper. As he said, he received a message from his book of the breast of the transparency, who had to tear his flock. And even if I had a cold appearance, you can blend your hands and feel a soft feeling, and maybe even if I were to be compared. I attended all the ghastly formations, and the urban undertaker had his staff afflicted, or blessed, either, with something of his own unambiguous suave? That's what I'm guessing. When you find anything in the attorney who is for the late Mrs. Wisner, seals her papers, write it tonight. I ask him, for I fear he might not, being a foreigner, be aware of the requirements of the English law, so ignorance could not make some unnecessary trouble. He replies to me, I know. For me, I look here in the room and in Miss Lucy's old room every night, and search myself for what could have been. Good day. If your iota ever comes above the nerve, I can tell you everything about it, and I can learn things, and I can see how I find it. Mrs. Harper, September 24th. Confidence. Dear, as in like D-I-R, dear madam, I say, my writing forgiveness is all is. A messing friend of folk asks me news about Miss Lucy Wester's death. A day on the end it would be if said. Cannot be heard for at home because it must be influenced, even true, even me. It was of the opinion that he believed himself. He was the most important man in his country, the heinous man, to build talent, then write them all or on all. Note, Harper, on September 23rd. Have anxiety after night of evil. Before that, we are quarter of yesterday. I returned home. You have thus got ancestral and changed it to me and to the past. I did not write record, even Jonathan, monster. I mentioned. Izvin said on the day, I am very happy to me. We'll return to bitter watches. Time, Aberdeen, gold time for sale, May product, and if we need knitting inside for the general expectations, this successful memory credited. There are 3 pillars in the foot, the hoof, if you have come to London, millions of temples. I knew there would be real alone, and now I am proud to see the heights of progress. Ions, and keep pace with the tax that comes to him. I'm going to get this time, and start tranquilizing. I never know, because I dare to open the matter to him. A man does not like to create of such a fact, except category, jealousy. Do you come with me? Still, every fear should help my reason to need faith, and prove that there is most meme. It is hard to receive sad facts, and one as Lucy's mother. Ah, there is fear. But I do not expect to believe again. Meme it. Oh, has seen and produced simple logic. There is no today's greasy logic. Tusk a tusk in the wrong bog. I will tell you what I recommend. Meme is why I want to hurt you. What I want. Not too late. Then soak. Watch my life. From the fear of death, it is hard to immediately accept any vision which we cannot be when we have no of it. Madness deals with the truth as it relates to Dr. Seward. Out of the hint of pure anger, he took control. She was shocked by his impression. News he's is in a hand office. D. Van Victon. I reestablished. I saw my friend today. Why did that time come to me? I see my hair. First time. My face. Chapters 16 to 20. This coffin had a big gap. I said I was not going to touch it. Contrast us, man. Cursing. Chief Commander of Sorcerer. Left and refused all the attractions. Coffin was empty. No one said to you for a few minutes. What should I do? Perhaps the you of the fox did not think either. He was silent. I do not like this, but I do not know how to say a question. But it is a secret beyond any honor, you trauma. The artist steps forward. Took the screw machine. Received more coffin door. The page, big British, was accepted. Dr. Seward's diary. Only 2 hours before the wall, I was away to prevent gold in a very difficult number, which previous cars read. The woman suddenly remained, but a quick white walked. Your word wants everything. Tags. I am quick, Arthur. Very sharp but silent. Silent, but broken by molasses. Teacher, I respond to you at night. The light of the moon, the darkness of the sky shines in the sky, then a rate a dark lark in a point ed at Curaphone. We all contact. While we laid in away, the teacher solved natural excitation. First entering the door. For some reason, we closed the rest of the next and the door. Vaughn said yesterday, when we brought me, we looked at the top of the famous fire. I have to burn the face, not the property, with the fire of the light. Right, Harker. When we got to the hotel, we found it on television. Bad acid. When he said every day, the confined hacker removed. The product gave me a copy of the writing, but also of the mother's. The Harper diary. He meets him at the station. Not all the calendars were seen. What are these beautiful things? Are they not? And you said, do you learn to burn? I've come to Paddington's 5 minutes ago, and after a live fashion general to visit platforms. I began to feel the product on the so beautiful girl came to the product, and after rapid one short time was not the product. If he returned, he'll be a master of the facts, and then it can be better in our availability. The knee may be undead that goes to the earth. Read everything, I ask you. With the open mind, if you can put it away. The story here said to do so, because it is important. She had to go for your hunting home. Buddy, John. Diary, 30, Seward in September. I came home at 5 o'clock, discovered that the god lifting in the Morris had not only, but had already studied the printing of the various steering wheels. The letters, the arcs, had not yet returned for their visits to the man of carriers who invented the men in the carriers. Dr. Hennessy wrote me, I want to see you, Mr. Redfield. Let me see him. When he was fulfilled his disgusting mission, he cheerfully said, May a woman enter? And he said in the end of her bed, but the raised eyelids so that he could see when he entered. For a while, I thought I had intent. He was afraid of jealousy. The archer gave us a cup of tea, and I can honestly say, for the first time since I have lived here, this old house seemed to be a home. When we had finished, Mr. Harper said, Dr. Seward, may I ask a favor? When I went into the room, I told the men that the lady would like to see me in. To which he simply answered, Why? She walked over to him, smiling pleasantly, and held out her hand. I remember how quiet he had been just before that he attacked me in his own study. I took care to stand, where I seized him at once, if he attempted to make a spring at her. She came into the room with an easy gracefulness, which would at once commanded the respect of any lunatic, for easiness is one of the qualities people most respect. The most important thing you should say in your daily journal is meh. Everyone wants to see. I didn't have to look in a naphthalys and could not edit the product, but I do not do it with it. I had a choir's choir. What lets could have been set up. The support and pokers. What lets could not go. Oh, very bright, said. Oh, good. Always, but stay immediately on the ground. The burglar thing said about monsters and kind rats help her. So I'm not trying to use their misrespect. But we learn to live. And in our current work, we have no opportunity, said my friend, quitting. They're all better. Moreover, he calls number of Raja Master. And he wants to help him in the dock. Jonathan's Harper. Jonathan, 1900. Market, 5 a.m. I went to a party to look for a simple mind. I think why look strong and good? Love to see return and agree with him what he man does. I don't know, but I was not able to forget. Hoof prayed the enchanting circle level of the same cats and tried to ease my neck in my teeth. I don't sure in get it, but I think it's a serious purpose, and if yes, it was quite difficult to get the possibilities. The mythos was silent but expensive. Added banana shells. Prelude to John. You know more than I am happy. I think. Decide what was the last August mythical, freely given. Some read in the shop, which was afraid of everything. But now, when his work was done, because of his energy, and in his mind, he stressed that the whole story has been merged to tell each point that he can feel, well, that his role has ended, so he can let us rest. We were silent when we left our room until he went back to college. Then Morris told Dr. Seward, Jack, the man didn't try to fool. He saw the holy salvation mixed with him. I want to do something wrong by helping him out in the index area. We are, I think, all I have at Redfield. He was arrested until he was born to the south coast and west coast of the South Sea. He is a kind fire. You are smart, burning, and with his head, I was the smallest servant. And he brought another box for us. Oh, he replied, kind, nor they do not carve at certain treatments. He gives him half of his sovereignty. I will say everything I know. Mean. I heard a man in the name of Blam. All around, pictures, north and west, definitely makes the heart of fashion city in southwest and west, in a daily valley, plain. The systematic way he does this job thing, that she cannot limit herself on both sides of London. I learn. But from his wife, which seems smooth, the poor soul, she simply memes it. Not legitimate. Literally says she simply memes it. Smallest assistant. Who was one of the partners? Was responsible? Jonathan. Harker. Dear. Attached. October 1st. Due to Thomas snailing found in his home and agreed. But it was unfortunate he wasn't able to remember anything. So I went to Walforth and found Mr. Joseph Smallest at home. And in his shirts, taken a long time. If the accountant said to destroy these unlawful, sheltered places, all the above, that they were remembered, that all the lone places, all of the above. The loots were left. Nice piece of the dog, which produced a special reticle on the pan seat, has given mixed pens, half the planter or boxes. She was happy. She was Rick, Sykes, car manufacturers, and list 197 Sand Street. Miles, new telephone. Andy, Anacamics. Bird Munsey. I've shown a lot of software I expected, and his beautiful started before. Chapters 21 to 26. Or 27, I forgot. And you can follow the heels on the head of the floor, bow, both right hand and the full side of the arc. If the back was broken, could not beaten the head, if your face was the same, what list was down from the you will be marked? I cannot imagine. We made this. Two things. When seeing the red field, it was a moment. Then it turned into me. When the face was revealed, I noticed a covered bruise as if it was worn. These strange things, right? And your Mrs. Take this, he said, studied it well, and made my way to Paddington, where I arrived 15 minutes before the entry of the crowd train melting away after the common costumes of the access platforms, and I was starting to feel uncomfortable. Important news: when the wire was sent, he had a cup of tea. Then he prepared his departure and soon left for Liverpool Street. He was asked to come here at the same time. It seemed that this goal was to be not coordinated between design, even body depth. She said that she had given up and seized his weapon. I cannot understand two things. When I began to act, he was obviously subject to some dangerous damage to worry. I think that a young woman can leave him if she is forgiven. Can be confusion shadow. In all my calm, I have to continue. I visited Redfield. I have found that in the left side of the bloodshed basin. I cannot forget any details. At 0600 hours, Dr. Seg, British Dr. Seward, agreed that if we could not eat, we could not do anything. He said that we could say. But he must trust and hope. His face was integrated and fragmented. The Lord will help us to an end. Education, big or small. Cannot land we, anywhere worse than today. Work, the best, is, all knows. What it takes today. It initially seems that there are two, but there is no one in the room that can be just one. I have kept writing every opportunity, because I cannot stop thinking. The site can be small to teach us. Login poor Mina tells me. Memes are just me. With tears that water the precious cheeks is in trouble. The proof is that our faith has been tested. Oh, he said he was inside. Confused, in the middle of the dosage, when he heard strong voices in the room. Then the Redfields called the aid several times. Lost everything, big and small. Should have come down. October of the fan. After that, there was a falling of sound, and when he entered the room, he found him lying on the ground, face to the ground, because the doctor saw his teacher well enough to know him. It makes him best to keep his mind active. He had a very powerful brain, practicing out of confrontation, and a heart that he did not know fear or fear. But I know. Is the poor man. I thought that my own problems are very bad. But the belt said, his energy still untouched. Poverty is contemporary last night. Was an esteemed man. Good that his was. Young heels, full of energy, and dark brown hair. Actually, it was like a sharp flame. He survived physically death. In some abilities, he was only a child. He took part in the scholars and was not known that he had ecstasy. Everything, thanks to his progress. When he learned about my friend of the animus with the Buddha, he was a great man. This may be his salvation, because if he will be good, he will be cleared. Soldier, husband of the state in alchemy. Match the hollow burnt eyes and sad lines of his face, and I can remember this is. I've studied. Moreover, since they have got into my hands, all the papers related to this monster, and the more I research as possible, the better I can get to him out. Although it may seem like a memory that is not complete, then he would, in a way, wake up again to real life. I could see his purpose by the side views he had from his time as a harper. He had returned to the castle in Transylvania. She finds the ship coming along with the route she came, and she went inside, and now going to find where ships and boundaries. This fight will be start, and eventually win. You'll stay in Madame's mind. Then we'll entertain you, and the poor Madame's mind with few hopes. And he decided to come. She knows that the game is over. He is doing a lot of harm. We suffer from it. We are strong, everyone in a goal. We are all strong together. When we discover, we will return and tell everything, and if we know his order to drive him all day. This roar we are tracking it takes hundreds of years to London. It was last hope. He could hide that he thinks and save Missouri forever. As he says, open to him. I know very well when the big hands of fire are written on the wall. For this, he took away the money, at the falling for his last reassurance. His last work on earth could say that I wish for a double origin. However, there was no time. Somehow he prepared for it. And the last earthling cart was ready for ships. It is the best and most beautiful office. On that day, it is impossible for us to find him. I tell you that you find what we already know before. We want to go to our search. If I have to name it, because it was not sought, but to know, and we are looking for confirmation. Despite this, he still takes care of and takes care of her. You must destroy me, my soul, and destroy me unless the remedy comes to us. My friend, you are worried about my soul, as well as I know. Dr. Seward's 11 evening. Jonathan Harker has not noticed that it is almost the same as the tax that holds accurate records. When we heard that we have little Harper Mars before sunset, we were all surprised. But I need to remember that I don't like you. I'm so good for me to add you to you. However, to avoid change quickly or quickly recurring, receive pre-silence. The night we met, we learned suppressed all the features of the internal struggle. We arrived late to understand the east of the sun, and at its sunset is strange. I know that all of the brass can make a mask. Weak. Lose the soul neither. But there are levels of threat we will do. When an elderly woman can declare herself without any control force, she boils or stretches her actions. This voice or state begins at half an hour more than before the sun, and continues until the cloud rises again. In the morning of the morning, we are just right. We are in reserve. The first state exists as a visa was detached, and absolute freedom lasts quickly. Then she took her husband to sit next to her in the bathroom, where she had the rest of her neck. He controls his husband. He said, we are all free, all the time. I have fallen down to make some thesis that it's possible. After a few moments, the self grew full attention. It was his wife, and in his edition, Dr. Seward's Daily. October 29th. This was written on a train from Galilee. We can make money. And many others. He was a handsy hand. He came out. He was alive. Because he settled into the sheep, he was used on his own. His chirp. When I lost, he said, you can see my friends heeding. I understand each, and I feel like I'm hitting me. I don't see anything. Weighing the swallow handcuffs came around the security. Harper, us, prepared for the hypnotic. Andy has a longer and more senses. Shamolian than generally Ned, the seats. I stopped. Usually spoke to the vice, but this time the teacher had to ask his questions. And it is very crucial that we ask questions. What can be learned? Finally, there was a long search. Yesterday we have a light prayer, a little every day. Quincy in the eyebrows, but hallucinations vase. Harper was the first active expert. We know when we can talk, but we could say something. It was yesterday, and when the eyes opened, was loaned. Don't love the tropical river. I can hear the call of the people, close and remotely. I can row and warehouse behind the goods, not wave, but only the transport of the stable water, and bellowingly resilient to the hunger. The fever is somewhat prompt. I say it is far away. All people who have completed the work, when they think, and rubbing of the raw hoof is ready for every journey. And because of our work, when we enter into the galaxy, the doctor will not relax throughout the day, regardless for a long time. It is very tiring, hard, and gray. But it is so strong as to kill. The teacher was tired. If he was very strong, but I'm afraid that I'm going for ourselves. When you start, you must get away when you start. We don't want to understand when necessary. He is very unhappy, very sad. The words that they say are treated as friendly because they have full speed. All day. All day they travel at a great pace. During that day, no driver has naked eyes to move the story before winter. He is in a country of love. He thinks about the onions. But feels nothing for him or himself and everybody around. We will drink warm soup, coffee, tea, as well as dream. While the sun, he told me, he said he had his normal cast. Water comes and cuts wood. When we wait for horses, it is too high. Change them the same and find them the same as we encourage to believe that it will be a simple journey. Our finders are still at the river. The beauty of all kinds still seems to be filled with brave, strong, simple, and good qualities. In the first house we stayed when a woman we gave saw my face wounded. She crossed, puts her fingers against me, and keeps the evil eyes. They believe that they cannot add an additional amount. Since then, he could remove hats or jewelry. So they asked him to give up. All right, that was Dracula summarized and translated poorly. Oh, that took a while. Well, thanks for watching, and have a good one. Like, subscribe, and maybe even comment how bad this was.